Well, g'day, Max here again. Welcome back to the shop. So this is part 2 in our wood lathe spindle series. So this will be the final. It's only a 2-part series. So we've got a little bit of turning to finish off, a little bit of threading in the lathe, some spanner flats to machine in the Bridgeport here, and halfway through the video we get a bit of a visit from an unexpected slippery surprise. I'll put a clip of that one in when I was mowing the lawn. And yeah, well, let's get the shaft finished out. So we're back to the not the JFMT, the little AL960 lathe first. Okay, we're faced and centered now. At the end here, we're at the correct length. So we'll get rid of the steady rest, and in this area here we have to screw cut for this lock nut. It's a M20 by 1mm pitch. So we'll get set up for that. So this is our lock nut, our M20 by what we thought was, well, it is 1mm pitch. Now it was pretty tricky to get in there with a pitch gauge and check the pitch, and it was a bit easier to use an M6 tap as a pitch gauge, as it's 1mm pitch as well. But just to confirm all that, because it's still pretty hard to see in there, I did Google the nut part number on the SKF website, and it is actually 1mm pitch as we thought. So we're set up now. Let's do a scratch pass. Same deal. This lead screw is imperial as well, but this time I've got a little thread relief in there, and we will be disengaging the lead screw when we hit the thread relief and re-engaging when our number 1 comes back around in the opposite direction for the return journey. As long as it doesn't go a full rotation, we're right. Generally it just goes a little bit past, and then you pick it up on the return. So that's our plan. So we'll put you in the tripod and see how we go. I need to sit you up there on that funky angle so I can see as well. Plus I've got to be able to reach over for the reversing switch on the lathe. So. Stop the machine, reverse it, and re-engage. And that is hard to see. Looks like it. Might just go a bit deeper. I'm coming straight. It's a straight in-feed cut on the cross slide. We're not going in on the compound. Yeah, we're there. Cool. Let's get a bit of thread cutting oil. I think we'll swap the thread cutting oil for a bit of WD. It's a bit easier to see. Let's see how our nut's looking. I'd say we're pretty close. Okay, just a fraction more. Okay, I'll just give this a clean up with a file. Unfortunately, we have to keep the tool engaged. Okay, we'll try that. Not quite. Oops. Drop the bloody thing in the swarf tray. Okay. think if I deburred that, we'll be right. Now I think I just could go just one more. I've lost my position on the thread dial. I'll go reverse, see if I can pick it up again. It nearly went a full turn, so be a sec. Okay, we think we're in the right spot. We'll have a trial. Yeah, we grabbed it. It's got it. Perfect. Okay, so what's left? I think we've got a thread to do up the other end of the shaft. Okay, so we've got to spin it around now and drill and tap 3/4 UNC to take this adapter. So yeah, that's the internal shot of our thread. Right, that's our 3/4 thread completed. Come out very well. So at least single pointing the thread will make sure the attachment that screws in there, which is like a driving type center spigot thing for the wood, digs into the wood. At least that'll run true, and it pulls up square on this face. So yeah, these little Lathe boring bars really come into their own for this sort of work. I'll get a better shot of it on my phone. It'll be a bit clearer. So these are these Ifanga boring bars, high-speed steel tips, absolutely brilliant for small internal threads. So that's one of the tips there. Just a screw-on tip. There's a thread profile all the way around it. So all you do to sharpen it, you're just touching up the top of it. Obviously this one started life with its cutting tip way around here, and that was about 40 years ago. Yeah, Ifanga. Absolutely brilliant. So they just have a generic lead angle which suits, you know, majority of threads on the diameter that this tip will cut. So here in Australia, some of the little critters and things that live on your property when you live on acres, they're not always the most friendliest things, and sometimes it's best not to tangle with them. So I was out mowing the lawn yesterday, just over there next to that old shed. We'll wander over and have a look. This was one of our residents. Now this tape measure is stretched out 5 feet or 1.5 meters, and I'm sure if I stretch this snake out it would cover that distance. This is a Western Australian dugite, and they are highly venomous. Yeah, in Australia here it's illegal to kill them. You're supposed to ring up a snake handler and get them removed, but they just dump them down the road, and these bloody things, they'll remember where they're from and they'll come back. You can dump them down the road 5 kilometers and they'll come back. So yeah, I'm unsure what those 2 bits of chrome bar are lying in my grass there. yeah, they're, if you let them go, they're just going to go back in old sheds and places, and you're never going to get them. So this one here, I think, because it is that time of year where they're just coming out of hibernation, they can be very docile, or they can be very pissed off. Something you don't want to take the chance with. So yeah, it's what we have to put up with. So we're set up to do our spanner flats on our spindle. We'll first take it to 36mm, but I don't think it's going to be enough. But we'll do 36mm across the flats and just see what it looks like. We'll probably end up taking it down to 32 to give it, well, the flats a bit more longevity, and that way they won't tend to roll and burr over. So we'll go to 36, have a look, and then down to 32. Nothing too technical about the indexing. We can use any hole plate, and it's just 20 turns on our 40:1 indexer. Okay, we're just touching there, so we'll zero out our knee dial. And we'll come up half of the required distance for our 36mm. Perfect. Now that's the 36mm. Actually, that's not too bad. Yeah, no, that's a good fit on our spanner. Cool. So I'll deburr that, and that's that part done. Okay, that's all it needs. Right. Now as the pulley goes on here, I'm not sure of the exact location, so this end of the shaft doesn't have a key. The old shaft has got nothing. Let's go and have a look. So it turns out there is a drill dimple mark in the old shaft. So we'll do the same, and we'll just make it the same distance back from the shoulder where the bearing comes up. Now my thread here is slightly different than the thread on the sample. The thread on the sample is a slightly coarser thread, but it's a left-hand thread with a bearing lock nut, and this lock nut's pretty charted up. So what's available to us is standard M20, I think it was 1mm pitch, fine, right-hand thread. So I left the thread longer because we're going to use 2 lock nuts and double them up against each other, and possibly just a very small drop of Loctite on the last nut. If the thread was an issue, I can turn it back, but looking at the pulley, it's not going to be a problem. So let's get this dimple drilled. So you got to remember, it's just a dimple to hold a pulley in place, 2.5 inches off the shoulder. So we'll use the front face of our chuck jaw, we'll pull it out 2.5 inches, as long as our drill bit's on centre with the face of the chuck jaw, then we just drill down in between the jaws. Simple. Right, this ain't a part for a space shuttle, so quickest way to edge find, just something like this. Remember, it's only a pulley dimple. You don't want to be dicking around for hours on end, pissing around with an edge finder, especially on a machine. An edge finder might be quick if your machine has a DRO, but it takes a little bit longer on a machine like this that doesn't have a DRO. That's a 10mm spot drill, so it has parallel sides. All we need to do is grip it lightly in a chuck like that, and a rolly paper. This is just a standard rolly paper. It's not the ones that maybe some of you used to use in younger days. They had a piece of wire up the side of them. How did I know that? Well, it must have been someone told me. So we'll just bring our work across till we grab there's no need to have the tool rotating for this. Okay, we've grabbed the wire. Sorry, we've grabbed the rolly paper. We zero out our saddle and come down. Actually, at the same time, we can come across against our chuck jaw, and we can also zero out our table. That's it, that's all it needs. We'll zero out the table. So we can come across 5mm for half the diameter of our 10mm drill, and 9mm for half the diameter of the shaft, which is 14 millimeters. And now the camera's, let me just move the camera because it's going to interfere with the handles on the milling machine. Okay, so we wanted 14 millimeters, so 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, that's our saddle. Okay, we're centralized this way, so we'll just centralize the table. So we've previously aligned the edge of our pointer with our chuck jaw. So it's just a matter of moving the table across 5 millimeters, which should put us in a clear area in between the jaws. So that's one turn on the handle for my Bridgeport. Which is right there. So that will put us center 2.5 inches in. Make sure our ruler's lying parallel. We know we're centered. Right, just a simple alternate method when you don't have to be super accurate. And the only reason why I use the spot drill is every other little short piece of doweling that I have is in imperial sizes, and it's just easier in the Bridgeport because it is a metric milling machine to work in metric rather than convert everything and work with oddball numbers. Just to match the sample. And that will do it. Just gives the set screw for the pulley somewhere to bite down into rather than on the shaft and burr it all up, chowder it up. Okay, that's our shafts fully completed. So I'm just waiting for the owner to bring down the other bearing, and then I can press it on for him. I'll probably put it in, assemble it up in the housing for him. Okay, so we'll bring this one to a close here. We had a good result. Now, I need to make up some adapters and whatever so I can hold my phone when I'm doing some machining, so you guys can get some clearer close-up shots. Now, when I did single pointed that internal thread, I had no way of holding the GoPro just wasn't going to cut it. The only one that would be my phone, and there was no way to hold it. So, and I think I mentioned I was going to tap it, but I ended up single pointing it because this material, it's a high grade of steel. It's a higher grade than 4140, so it's quite tough, very tough material, and tapping it without a brand new tap would have been an absolute nightmare. So it was easier just to single point it with the Ifanger bar. Yeah, so there'll be a slight delay, probably maybe a couple of weeks before the next video, as I've really got to pull my finger out in the shop here and get a lot of small jobs done, electrical power points put up, some shelving, extra shelving put up, just little jobs, and there's hundreds of them that you need to do to make life a bit easier. So that's what I'll be up to next, and then we'll be setting that pesky bloody pinion up for the JFMT lathe apron drive, and we'll cut that gear. So that gear cutting will be the next video, more than likely. Unless I do a quick video. I mean, I've got a couple of a bench to knock up behind the lathe. I'll tell you what, let's just go for a quick wander around the shop and you'll see what I've got to do. Yeah, so I've got a lot of cleaning up to do. Welding bay's an absolute mess. There's crap everywhere. This little lathe, that's got to be cleaned up and gone. I'm getting rid of that. No longer. That was my first lathe I brought that a long time ago. Little 9-inch Hercus, just a knockoff of a South Bend basically. Yeah, it's time for a big clean up. We did manage to clear the top off the boring mill. Got a bit of cleaning, a little bit of cleaning left to go to finish off the big mill, and then we'll plug her in and give it a go. We need to get our pinion gear for the JFMT set up in the Bridgeport. Need to get a base made for the shaper so we can make some progress on this thing. Hock fuck wong needs clean. We do have the apron assembly off the JFMT on our Dean Smith and Grace workbench, and we need to clean down the heron as well from the other day's work. We need to clean down the little lathe here from the job we've just done. Plus what I want to do is I want to build a small bench in this area here, as I prefer a bench behind me. You know, I can just turn around, everything's there. At the moment I just got to sidestep a bit because I've just got a lot of stuff just in temporary locations on the shelving there, and we need to get this area cleaned out too so the South Bend is usable. I need to put a shelf up along here and excuse me, get rid of this little one, and now that way it gives me a bit of extra storage up there. So we're getting there. Yeah, so I've got a fair bit on my plate at the moment, so I may or may not film any of it, probably won't, as there's so much to do. I just really need to push through, but I'll see what happens. So anyway, cheers, thanks for watching. Oh, and while I've got your undivided attention, thanks a lot for all those that commented on that Vevor parts washer, because that's the first time I've used one, and there was a lot of tips that people gave me on, you know, different aspects of it and bits like that, which we'll be using some of the pointers that I got when we go to use the thing in future videos. So anyway, cheers, thanks for watching, and hopefully it won't be too far before the next one.